nobody will use the planned MetroLink from Dublin city centre to the airport, and it'll cost taxpayers multiples of any budget allocated to the project. That's according to Michael O'Leary, who's Group Chief Executive Officer of Ryanair Holdings, and he joins me now. Michael, you're very welcome to the programme.
Cormac, good afternoon. How are you?
You have big beef with this MetroLink for some time now. It could cost, we're told, as of yesterday, €23 billion. What's wrong with the plan?
Yep. Well, firstly, it's 10 children's hospitals. It's completely uncosted, and yet the government yesterday allocated $2 billion for just the tendering process. People don't seem to understand that this railway line runs about 18 kilometres of underground railway at a cost of $20 billion, so about $1 billion a kilometre. The Dublin Airport doesn't need it. Dublin Airport passengers won't use it. They're already well served by buses. People seem to misunderstand that people using Dublin Airport are all going to St Stephen's Green. They're not. 90% of the traffic is going to suburban Dublin and down the country. They're very well served by the existing bus capacity, which accounts for about 30% of Dublin's traffic. And if you want a good example of why people won't use this massively expensive metro, Heathrow, which is one of the biggest airports in Europe, has the benefit of the London Tube. The Tube delivers 16% of Heathrow's traffic, and the Tube serves all of London. The Metro serves a narrow corridor from Swords in through the airport, in through Glasnevin, serves a couple of 100,000 people. It will be, and we're wasting billions of taxpayers' money on a airport train that nobody's going to use.
Okay, so that's your argument. So you've said a lot there. You say it's uncosted. Yep. It could be up to, that's the range, 12 to 23 billion. Of course it's uncosted right now because it has to go through the planning process. They have to get bids for it and tender, the tendering process. So you wouldn't expect it to be costed at this stage, would you?
Of course I'd expect it to be costed.
So they don't know what the plan is, Michael.
Well, we do know what the plan is. There's a route map up on their website, so we know exactly what the plan is. The reason it's not costed is that nobody wants to come out and explain to people this is going to cost about 20 billion. This is how we walked into a children's hospital that was originally cost at 800 million, and 4 years later is running at 2.4 billion.
But you're going beyond the 20 billion, aren't you? You're saying this will cost multiples of the 20 billion, are you?
Oh, I mean, how much above 20 billion do you want to go for a service that will not be used by the airport passengers?
You reckon it could exceed 20, 30 billion?
Easily exceed 20 billion. I mean, whether it gets north of 30 billion, is a matter for this government. But, if this government wasted 330,000 on a bike shed, imagine what they'll do with an 18-kilometre underground train from an airport that's only 9 kilometres from the centre of the city.
Now, they'll say you're being unfair.
Well served.
They'll say you're being unfair. They say there wasn't ministerial oversight for the bike shed, for example. But it'll provide certainty, surely, for people who want to get to Dublin Airport.
It doesn't. I mean, here's the madness of this. This thing is going to start at Stephen's Green in the morning. If you want to get to our first wave of departures, which leave at about 6:30 in the morning, you have to be at the airport at 5:30. Are you seriously going to drive into the centre of Dublin, into Stephen's Green, where there's no car parking, to get this metro, to get to Dublin Airport for 5:30 in the morning? No, you're not.
Well, what you could do is you could get a train up the night before, you could stay in a cheap hotel, and you could walk to Stephen's Green the morning after.
But that's what people actually do today. They get a train or a bus up the night before. They stay at an airport hotel and walk across, and without having to spend 20 billion of taxpayers' money. This is another madcap. There's no cost-benefit analysis done for this Dublin Airport Metro. Yet we've employed some New Zealander who we're paying 600 grand a year.
Who's an expert and has built projects like this, capital projects like this in other places. So he knows what he's talking about, that New Zealander. But it's also greener, Michael.
Sorry. He doesn't know what he's talking about because he's never dealt with the Irish planning process before.
He's done capital projects on a scale like this previously.
He hasn't done them in Ireland.
We're different in Ireland. Well, what's the difference?
We are different in Ireland. We're useless at this kind of infrastructure in Ireland. Let me give you the alternative scenario. For 100 million euros, Cormac, we could buy 400 buses. And 400 buses would provide exactly the same capacity as this metro from Dublin Airport in through Ballymun, in through Drumcondra, on bus lanes that already exist.
That's not good enough. It's not the same thing, because if I'm on a rail, let me tell you, if I'm on a rail line...
You determine it's not good enough.
Well, hang on a second. Let me explain.
Let me tell you something. Let me explain to you. We're the experts at the airport. We're the experts that deal with passengers. You're not.
I'm a commuter.
Let me explain to you.
Hang on a second, Michael.
What airline passengers do.
Let me let me explain to you the difference.
Do you want me to answer the question, or are you going to answer the question for me?
I do once I've asked it.
Airline passengers use bus service at Dublin Airport. 30% of the passenger traffic at Dublin Airport is already using these buses. They're not asking for a 20 billion train service. They don't need a 20 billion train service, and they won't use a 20 billion train service.
You see, when I take a bus, I don't know if there's going to be roadworks. I don't know if a wealthy executive is hogging the bus lane with the taxi that he's using. We don't know, but when we're on a light rail, we know for certain what time it will take to get to the airport. Isn't that better?
No. Worsley, you can't be on a bus at 5:30 in the morning because they don't operate at 5:30 in the morning because they're run by public transport. If you live in Rathfarnham or the suburbs of Dublin, or you live outside of Dublin, you're driving to Dublin Airport and using their car park. That's what passengers do, Cormac. Not taking their light rail, a €20 billion light rail. We cannot afford to be wasting this kind of money on a project that airport passengers don't need, the airlines don't support, and yet it keeps muddling its way through at a cost of $20 billion. Have we completely lost the run of ourselves in this country? What about the climate?
It's greener, they say.
Who says it's greener?
The government.
Oh, sorry, I got it right. Yeah, Micheál Martin said that actually Dublin can't be sustainable without a metro.
Correct.
Does he not understand that the buses actually will all be electrified by the end of this decade? Which will be greener than actually light rail. The buses and the motor transport fleet are moving to electrification. It would be greener without the waste of 20 billion of taxpayers' money on this project.
Mm-hmm. Not alone that, but you're saying in terms of they'll exceed the budget, whatever budget is allocated, you'll say they'll exceed it because we're no good at this in Ireland and the government can't be trusted with this National Development Plan money. Is that what you say?
Well, I mean, I'll give you an example of it. The government got elected in November of last year, and one of the first lines in the programme for government is that they will abolish the Dublin Airport cap as soon as possible. 8 months later, nothing has been done. We get a government with a 20-seat majority, 5 years away from an election, can't pass a piece of legislation to abolish a 2007 traffic cap at Dublin Airport, which is illegal. That's why this government can't be trusted. It's why they haven't done a cost-benefit analysis of this metro, and it's why none of the airlines and none of our passengers would support wasting 20 billion on this metro.
But I'm perplexed because you say they can't be trusted, but yet you endorse them. You endorsed Peter, your local candidate, didn't you?
I endorsed Peter Burke, who actually topped the poll despite the criticism I received at the time. I also endorsed Robert Troy.
Can he be
They're
trusted?
Not the government.
Can they both be? They are in government. They are in government.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all I would say is they're not the ones in government. The one who is running the government is Micheál Martin. Micheál Martin is the Taoiseach of the country. He promised he would abolish the Dublin Airport traffic cap as soon as possible, and 8 months later, nothing has been done. What do you trust them to deliver this infrastructure?
Irrelevant, what I think. I mean,
you're the one who's opining on light rail, and you don't want to be executive
what I said was
taxi lanes, which is pretty prejudicial on your point.
Well, no, what I said is factually correct. When you're on light rail, you don't have the variables that you have when you're on the road. But in terms of trust, this goes to the heart of the matter in many ways. And whether whether they can be trusted. Let me speak now for a second. Ease up now for a second. Let me speak up and get the question out. Then you can respond. It goes to the heart of the matter in terms of having a balanced perspective, and that's what the Taoiseach called for yesterday. He said, of course, the Children's Hospital overran, but you have a balanced perspective, he says, and you'll see all of the other capital projects that were brought in on budget and on time.
He didn't identify any capital project that was brought in on budget or on time. And he has the one, he hasn't even got the budget for the metro. And we're saying, and we're the experts at Dublin Airport doesn't need a metro. The passengers don't use the metro. They're not going to Stephen's Green, and they're well serviced by bus transport at the moment. And for €100 million, a saving of 19.9 billion on the madcap plan yesterday, you could buy 400 buses that would provide exactly the same capacity as this Dublin Airport metro. Would you like the government to save 19.9 billion and use it for more useful infrastructure projects like building houses? And this is a government that published a programme in January. Here's where you can't trust this government. Published a programme in January that promised to abolish the Dublin Airport traffic cap as soon as possible. 7 months later, nothing done.
You keep saying we can't trust this government. It really brings me back to the comments you made about the Dáil previously. The Dáil is full of teachers. Nothing wrong with teachers. I love teachers, but I wouldn't generally employ a lot of teachers to go out and get things done. You seem to be muckraking again, Michael.
I don't think it's muckraking to point out the fact that this government published a programme in January promising to abolish the Dublin Airport traffic cap as soon as possible. 8 months later, nothing has been done.
Maybe for good
reason.
reason.
You should judge them by their actions. They are great for holding press conferences with shiny documents, with uncosted plans for a Dublin Airport metro that the Dublin Airport doesn't need and our passengers won't use.
Maybe for good reason, because maybe it's bad for climate action if they exceed the passenger cap.
Yet the
and maybe it's bad for
Yet
residents.
the buses will be electrified. Why would that be bad for climate action? Are you that desperate
They're
to
not
defend this
all
government,
electrified
Cormac?
right now. And also,
They will be by
you'd be
2030.
shipping more people into flights that obviously pollute.
I mean, that's an extraordinary prejudicial statement from a journalist in RT. We'll be shipping people in on aircraft that carry 20% more passengers but burn 20% less fuel. On a per passenger basis, the fuel consumption will be down by 40%. The emissions will be 40% lower. This is the most efficient way, environmentally efficient way of travelling to an island on the periphery of Europe.
Yeah, but not all airlines are Ryanair.
If you have some alternative form of means of transport on and off an island on the periphery of Europe, please let us know.
Well, what do we do?
But
Just
otherwise,
take as many flights as we like until the climate burns up. Is that it?
I mean, I really don't even know how to answer such a stupid comment
well,
like that.
obviously you don't.
The growth in
You're not obviously
do
not.
you want to actually keep cutting across me, or do you want me to let me answer the point?
If you say I'm making stupid points, of course I will, because people are genuinely concerned about climate action, Michael, and shipping more people into flights.
About climate action, then you wouldn't. What do you want us to grow the tourism industry on and off this island on the periphery of Europe? Or do you want us to go back to an era where only the rich people could afford to fly? Tourism is the biggest employer in this country. The tourism industry is the biggest employer. It's one of the biggest industries we have. And unless we remain competitive with other European countries, who, by the way, are lowering airport costs and are slashing aviation taxes, and we can continue to do that as long as we're not saddled with some madcap 20 billion expenditure on a train system that nobody wants and that airport passengers won't use. Yeah. If you want a climate solution to the question that you raised, then the solution is easy. Buy 400 electrified buses and put them on the bus routes or the bus lanes from Dublin Airport to Stephen's Green, and you'll have a very efficient, cost-effective, environmentally friendly solution.
Not all
wasting
airlines
20 billion
use e-fuels, and they do emit an awful lot of carbon. But let me read you a statement from
actually. Sorry, can I say, look, before you another stupid comment.
But hang on a second
air travel,
for all airlines?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
The statistics that if you'd like to know, air travel accounts for 2.4% of Europe's CO2 emissions. 2.4%. Road traffic accounts for 27%. Shipping accounts for 5%, double what air travel does. So the growth of air travel is not going to immolate the world. So if you want to be prejudicial about or make stupid comments about global,
not being prejudicial, I'm reading what scientists and experts in the field say. You do have e-fuels, but it costs a lot more.
Would you want to tell us which scientists you're actually referring to?
Well, transportenvironment.org is where you'll find it.
That is not a science; it's a lobby group for the environmental
industry. And they rely on expertise. Let me read you this.
The factual position is that air travel accounts for 2.4% of Europe's CO2 emissions. That's a fact.
Okay, look, I've had loads of text streaming in on both sides, I must say. 51551. Michael O'Leary of Ryanair, thank you very much indeed.